There is a chaotic situation in Assam and the unrest in Bodoland, Karbi Anglong likely to spread to Dima Hasao, and also the Kamtapur movement has stepped up. Well, to discuss on all this issue and why we are talking about separate states in Northeast, we have today with us Ranjan Barua, a noted activist, and Ratnadeep Chaudhary, principal correspondent, Tehelka. So basically my first question will be to Ranjan. Well, Ranjan, we have been seeing that, the aspect of alienation, people always feel that they are deprived and neglected. In fact, in many of our conversation with Pramod Boro, who have been stepping for the movement of Bodoland, they have always said that we have been neglected. Assam government has successively failed to give us our due share of rights.
See, basically, if we look at the history of beginning of like a separate state in PTC, which started from 2nd March 1987. Prior to that, it was PTCA who demanded for a separate state. But if you look at again going back to the history, when they had initially made 91 demand of Sartor, Bodoland creation of a separate state was not in the top. So initially what they were asking for basically was right in the sense of educational right and other justice. Even today, like we have Forest Act, we have right to education, but unfortunately there are many Boro youths, like students, there are schools who are not provincialized, there are people who are living in this place for years and years are not getting PRC because they don't have land patta. Like suppose if someone staying here for years and years and then they have to they are in problem when they are supposed to get PRC for admission in institute, like even in BTC, like we have Central Institute of Technology, but there are reported case that students have failed to take admission because they don't have PRC, and this happens from a place like in Sanitpur and all. So obviously anyone, when they feel they are from place and they are deprived of basic right, like where the right means, even let's talk about education, even when a child is not getting enough education or sufficient education, anyone will definitely have anger on the system, and anger on the system is the government who is supposed to give them that right. And like it may be, there are different things when they demand, like see, if you look at very simple thing, if I don't get my right, of course I have to shout, I have to raise my voice, and whom do I shout? In a democratic country, when we have constitution, we have laws, we have rule of law, we have to raise our voice. So there is no, I personally, I see there is no harm in raising. But then the question is, how do government bring or resolve this kind of problem? Having, like, if we look at that, this thing have started after Telangana thing. Telangana, no doubt, it's way back, like when initially state reorganization committees were formed after independence. So Telangana was in recommendation. Maybe like Gorkhaland, not only Bodoland, even Bodoland, Gorkhaland, and other smaller state demand people who are demanding, maybe those committees never looked at these small places. See, this state may be created or may not be created, but to me, I feel that justice, the right, must be to the people and the citizen of this nation.
Well, Ranjan, do you think that, sorry to interrupt you, do you think that, when we are saying that there is dissent among the people, they're not getting their due share, do you think that the separate state is a solution? Because Tarun Gogoi has said that, there will be no more division of Assam, and whatever problems is there among the ethnic communities here, we are willing to discuss and resolve it. He is saying that with discussion, we can resolve any issues.
See, Meghalaya was part of Assam, Nagaland or Mizoram. And look at their population, it's like 6 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 12 lakhs or 14 lakhs. And no one, like whether it's me or Tarun Gogoi, no one owns this state, it's for everyone. And if I suppose someone has failed to give justice and failed to give rights, he or she should also have this moral right to discuss. But the thing is that if you deprive a community because of a separate community showing that they are like tribals or they are something different, this small thing brings more confusion and conflict amongst common citizen. So these small things leads to, and then this leads to kind of agitation and strike, everything. Look at like Karbi Anglong and Dima Hasao, who are also demanding the hill state. It is in the provision of when you had this autonomous district before, it's one of the oldest in the country. They have this provision that there can be state. But thing is that if either, see, I'm not saying whether giving state is a solution or not, but at any cost, whatever rights is there in the constitution, this must be given to the citizen of people. And if people are deprived of it, then anyone, even though it happened to me, I would have come of this agitation, and everyone has got this democratic right to fight and shout for their own rights.
Well, Ranjan, right. Well, Ratnadeep is also with us here. Ratnadeep, you have, tracked various movements. You have been in Darjeeling to, track the Gorkhaland movement. You have also traveled to Bodoland to understand the issues. So at this juncture where we see that there is unrest in Assam, so what is your first reaction which comes in?
Well, first reaction is how come when this kind of a situation, I mean, when center was ready to take a resolution on Telangana, when the Congress party, which is in power in center, it was ready to take a resolution on Telangana, a Congress ruled state for 11 years, Assam, was the state government was not even aware that in the backyard in Karbi Anglong there can be so much of unrest. So here there is a lot of, you know, I would say that there is a lot of loopholes in terms of how the government, the Assam government here, the central government looks at small statehood demands, particularly in the northeast, and Congress party in particular. I think Congress party for a long time is involved into carrot dangling. If I can, I might sound like more of a political activist than, but then a journalist. But my clear opinion is that when it comes to northeast, Congress has been doing a lot of carrot dangling for a long time on contentious issues, and now people have started to react. People have started to react on that, and why? Since Northeast has a history of violence, we have a history of violence here in Northeast. Insurgency has torn apart the region. Perhaps people kind of take resort to violence as a mode of protest more than other forms of protest. So clearly, the initiative is with the center, with Assam government to come out of this situation. We have seen a lot of people, even officials from the state government coming on record saying that we were not aware, although there were clear inputs that there would be trouble in different parts of Northeast.
Well, government's reaction, or government may be trying to say that they were not aware that this could happen in Karbi Anglong or Bor, and this is just because they want to shy away from the media, or this is just because they want to react. Maybe that could be one reason. But when we are saying that Assam was already divided into 7 sister states, but still we see a lot of communities, especially seeking for a separate homeland based on their ethnicity. So do you think that the Bodoland issues, where they are saying that it will be a state where every community will have equal right, that is one separate issue, but the demand ultimately which we see when we talk about Meghalaya, when we talk about Manipur, they are all saying that it should be based on linguistic line. Do you justify a state on a linguistic line? Anyone can react?
Yeah, there can be. There is no problem in having a state with the basis of linguists, even like Meghalaya, Nagaland or Mizoram. So see, ultimately in a country where we stay, where we live, the main thing of the government is whether it's having a state or is not a big deal, but like what is the things in constitution, the rights given to people, and they make sure, the government's duty is to make sure that people are not deprived of any rights. And whenever I am deprived of any rights, I have to protest. There is no other ways. Some of the people they protest it very democratically, and some undemocratic who takes up gun, and being from a social activism field, we protest democratically, and this is, even constitution gives us the right. We have right to speak. We can raise our voice. Now if there are populations, like if you look at Bodoland case, there are whatever the proposed map they have, like they have around 45 lakhs, which is quite larger than Meghalaya or Nagaland or Mizoram. So there can be, provided if, but yes, if you ask again that will there be really success or there will be growth if Bodoland is given, that I'm not sure. But as looking at from social perspective, if a child is deprived of education, and I would just like to add on, like there is a Boro medium school, there are many Boro medium schools in the state of Assam. Many of them are not provincialized, they are still in the Vansar state, and there is no even directorate. There are lots of like when there are exams, lots of things, so people are not coming up. So this, like, I know the 8th schedule even gives the right to mother tongue or mother languages. So like its main thing, what Assam government could have done very nicely, or in the central government could have done, is listen to their protest in a democratic manner. I'm not saying to listen to them, the people who just protest with guns or something, but people who protest democratically. And if the problem can be solved easily, like making this land pattas to people who are with the Forest Right Act, it's not a big deal. It can be done. Giving make sure that with the right to education, which is even the UPA government's thing. So the same government is contradicting each other. And if Tarun Gogoi or the present Congress government say that they are unaware, it will be the really foolish. It will be like, I don't know why they say like this. This has happened in the past, same thing is happening, and we are in a state which we have lot of communities. It's not only one community. So this might be again worse in the future. But the most important is how transparent is the government, how accountable is the government, and the government should simply make sure that citizen gets the basic rights which are given in the constitution. They don't have to do any big thing. Simple thing, if they give the entitlements, if they give the rights, I'm sure no one would have asked or they would have come to the street for asking or protesting for a state.
Basically, Ranjan, you are trying to say that because of the neglect meted out by the center and the state, these communities are seeking for a separate homeland. Well, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss more.